Are you guys pretty excited about them?
Well, he's got a high price tag than me.
Well, sweet.
I've never missed one out of any of the kids ever.
You were with it?
I don't know. I know, don't give me that.
Kindergarten through 3 and 5.
I know.
Good. Let's see. Oh, wow.
Yesterday I was freezing in here.
I know.
And
It
now,
was freezing.
oh, I was freezing.
Were you?
Yeah.
Well,
Let's see what
I
we
did
got.
to Sarah, and she said that Tracy requested that we turn it down right before the meeting, so we thought you guys
Yeah,
were
it didn't
hot.
have to run the whole time.
Let's see when you're
It was warm when we got here.
when you're borderline anorexic like I am.
Fine.
I just can't keep that body heat in. And I guess I don't know what's funny about that. It's a disease, you know. Maybe I get some sympathy if nothing else.
And they would take them all.
Just reducing that, so then I went around.
Yeah.
They do it as a win. And go to our auction and we'll buy them.
It's violin. I like, oh, like I think I got a couple.
So that's all.
That was in July. Yeah, so I can see the back one, not so bad.
Here's what she's telling a better story.
Yeah, Jane.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and call the April 14th, 2015 negotiations to order. All right. As you've all seen from obviously the notes that went out, we've got a lot that we want to address over the coming meetings. One of the things, I guess, that we just want to be upfront with everybody, and I think as just in the past, we've got to work together as a team. Remember, it's not the board against the teacher, we're all in this together. We're looking at absolutely everything in order to try to be as fiscally responsible as possible. And you know, it's one of the things as we're looking back, it's for the first time forever, we actually balanced the budget for the district. There's been a ton of changes over the last several years. And because of that, we're actually even seeing, I think it was yesterday or at the last board meeting, where they're saying that we might even have surplus to work with. So that's obviously a good thing. As you all know, from the elections that just occurred, we may have a couple of challenges with a couple of the new board members, both having spouses in the district that maybe not being able to participate in certain discussions. Having said that, though, we want to move forward as a team and work through all the items on the list. A couple other things we've come across as a board, it's been pretty well unanimous as far as the decision on the negotiating team on our side that we're going to basically stay the same all the way through from start to finish. And we pretty well, I think we've noticed all the board members, I think, on the list, if I'm not mistaken. We're also determined to try to get the negotiations wrapped up no later than June 30th. And with the block grant being in play this year, we kind of actually have an opportunity to go through and actually have the budget done before the end of the
been saving money. We haven't cut taxes, we're opposed to do that ever. We haven't, we don't take it home ourselves. We don't, our goal is to do it, save money no matter what the area it is, whether it's, we save money in the athletic director position at the high school or the finance position when Richard Kane left, or public information officer position or busing savings. All those savings go directly back into educating students. And I think we've been very clear and very dedicated to making sure that money goes there. We may not always agree where and the best source of how to affect those students, but that's the reason we're doing it, is to be efficient with the money we have and putting it to the best use to, retain teachers and get the best education to kids in the district.
Well, we don't all know each other. And I think it would be nice if we're going to all work together, that we start out to introduce ourselves. There are people here, I don't even know who they are. There are people that we don't, maybe, you may not know who we are, and for the public, they don't know who we are. So I think it would be nice if we start, and I'll just start out. My name is Kim Shanae-Weiss. I teach at Hayes Middle School. We even wore our identifiers today. I teach at Hayes Middle School. I've been there about 10 years. I've been in the district 26 years. I teach art. I've taught elementary art. I've taught middle school art. I've worked with negotiations for nearly 20 years. So lots of different people and that we've worked with, and we've always found a way to work cooperatively and we'll start that another year. But I think it would be nice to know who we're working with. So
This one?
you're next.
I'm Kathy Wagoner, and I teach language arts at Hayes High School, sophomore and senior honors and collaborative juniors. I have been with the district 24 years now. It's the only place I've ever been. I have been in negotiations for approximately 18 years, and I do look forward to working in a collaborative environment. And
my name's Ron Lycum. I teach at Hayes High School, social science. I've taught 30 years, and I've been at Hayes High 21. And I don't know how many years I've been on negotiations. A lot.
It's a life sentence.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say.
Marty Patterson, Board of Education member.
Michael Baxter. I'm with the Jeter Law Firm. Today I'm filling in for Bill Jeter, who is the board attorney.
Greg Schwartz, Board of Education.
Lance Bickle, Board of Education. James Lacker, Board of Education.
Yeah, superintendent.
Sarah Rankin, board.
Josh Waddell, Capricorn, and Board of Education.
Tasha Lang, I work at Wilson Elementary School with our functional population, K through 5, and this is my 3rd year in the district, but I was also 3 years at Maine.
I'm Suzanne Lycum. I teach at Roosevelt. I've been there for 15 years. I've taught everything from K through 5. I don't know how long I've been in the communications team, maybe.
Since I wrote you.
Yeah.
I'm Ted Foster. I teach at Hayes Middle School, and I've been there 10 years, and on the negotiations for 3.
We will also have Abby Maska, and is she joining us today? Do you guys know if she'll make it?
I don't know. She has softball
Okay,
practice, so.
so she may be able to more as school winds down. But Abby Maska will be on our team, and Zach Butte is also on our team, and he will be here as well. They both teach at Hayes High. So,
Zach's at forensics now.
yep. So, and hopefully they'll be here the next time. So, okay. You know who we are. I guess before we start, according to the board policy, we should start out by setting our values. The time, place, duration, notification, agenda, rules of order. These are all things that this group should agree upon, according to your policy. So, we ought to be talking about how we're going to handle things so that we are all in agreement on that before we do. So, I assume this is the place you moved. we want to meet here each time, and this seems like a nice setup.
We're receptive if you want to meet somewhere else.
I have any suggestions? This has been okay. And then, what kind of a schedule are you, do you have a schedule in mind, or, and also, like, are we, we've told you who we are going to be using, we have 8 people. Here in the board policy, it says, are you changing that policy? Because we use superintendent, business manager, board attorney. Are you opening that up and then using everybody?
Yeah, they already changed that policy earlier this year.
This is on the, you didn't repost this?
The website has been updated.
Okay. Oh,
Changed it.
okay, I thought this was current. Okay. Did you delete this other stuff too?
What, I don't,
What other?
HAI,
No.
HAI, yeah. So, do you have a schedule you guys want to follow, or do you have something in mind? And how do you want to go about setting up our schedule? Do you want,
Well, I think what we're looking at is, we want to be done by June 30th. And so we're willing to meet as frequently, as often, or as long as you guys want to meet, and try and make ourselves available. The problem is we have essentially 3, but we want the whole board to be here. So
I
the whole
think-
board is on the committee, but we understand that they may not be able to be here for everyone. We're not going to delay having a meeting because 1 or 2 members can't be here.
you want to be done with ratification and everything by June 30th?
I don't know if we can do ratification in December, that's tough to get people
Because we have
together to vote.
We have to get 51% of our teachers to show up for a vote, for it to be about ratification. That's not easy to do. People are going, they're out of town, they leave for the whole summer. That's an aggressive schedule. And we have a long list. I mean, you have a long list. We don't have a very long list, but you have a very long list. So you want to meet, in the past, ever since I've been negotiating, we have met in the late afternoon, and we've been done by dinner time. Is that going to work out for most of you? That we'll get
It's
to?
going to be difficult for most of us because, everybody's, I understand why it works for you guys, the school day ends between 3 and 3:30, but for us, our day doesn't end until 5:30. And some days will work, some days won't. And so for us to have the board, and it's been our understanding that was something you guys wanted to see as well, but even if not, that's our position. We want the whole board to be able to be here, and so we wanted to do it at a time that everybody can't be here. So.
Well, and we want to do it at a time also that doesn't impose so much on people, because it is, we have people who have children and they want to get home and they've been gone all day and they want to, we have always worked it so that we could have those meetings later in the afternoon and that board members could usually get here. We've been doing this for, as long as I can remember, over 15 years. So we could get here and still be done by 6:30 or so. So I don't know what time you want to begin, but we'd like to look at having it not starting late, but ending at least by 6:30 so we could get done. Because we still have to go and get ready for school the next day, and some people would like to see their kids. So
We're the same way.
Right.
We work, but the problem, we leave at 4 o'clock, and we come here,
Right.
and we get to go back to work and finish what we didn't get done during the day, and have the same dilemmas with children and their activities and jobs, and, I think a lot of people didn't want to start till 6:30, and we said, no, let's do it at 5:30, so we can make sure that, we don't want to push it too late, but, we were here, last night until 10:30, 11 o'clock. So, it's not, we don't like being here that late either, but it's.
Well,
We just want to work and get this done, and if we need to be here till 11 o'clock, we'll be here. If you guys want to
Well,
be
I think we
more
just,
often and shorter, we'll do that.
we need to, I think in the past, we've always set a limit on the time of the meeting because I think it keeps people from going on and it forces us to take care of business, and it also makes it, so you can plan around it. You know, if I know I'm done at a certain time, then I can still plan my life around that.
Making progress, though, I'd like to see us continue on that, not just have to stop just because the timer says we have to stop at 6:30 or whatever time it is.
Yeah, I think that's been what was discussed is, you know, it is reasonable to set something so people can have plans and, you know, it's not taking you to be there, but if we are making progress and it's 6:30 and we could have finished it, we've spent 30 more minutes or an hour,
There have
that's
been-
the,
There have been times we've done that with the consensus of the group, but not as an open policy. We have set parameters so that we don't just go on and just wear each other out. So that we meet and refresh and we're not just going on and on. So I still,
I just don't think, I mean, I've said it in a lot of these, I don't think we've ever had a problem going on and on.
ever since you've been here, we've had time limits. We did have that before. We did.
Well, and, yeah, I mean, maybe, but even with the time limits, I just don't really have any issues. And, you know, I guess you could run into that again, but I mean, there's been a few that we've got, not a lot, that you get to 6:30 and say, well, let's break, but, I mean, my preference would be to set it maybe a little longer, not greatly longer, but then, you know, we can always agree to say, well, we're not making progress, or maybe this is a good time to break, so we can all go powwow and let's schedule our next meeting or something. And, you know, as far as scheduling meetings, it might be best, based on what we had, trying to get this one set, to schedule 6 or 8 of them going forward. Hopefully we don't need them all, but if we do, we've got them, and it's a lot easier to have those versus, you know, what we've done in the past is we wait till the end of this meeting and then schedule the next one. And if you're 2 weeks down the road, it pushes it, you know.
And I know we all have jobs, but I have an overwhelming amount of grading that I need to get accomplished. Like, I worked 8 to 2 a.m. this morning doing my grading, trying to get caught up, because it's just been massive. And with the seniors' last day coming soon, I've got to stay on top of it. And so, you know, I'm not ready to meet frequently, like 2 times a week or anything like that right now, just because the teaching job is taking most of my spare time.
Once a week? Work?
I suppose.
Tuesdays work?
Not every Tuesday.
I don't know if we can commit to once a week with this, with the year, so.
With the year wrapping up, this
Yeah.
is a very busy time.
Now in the summer, that's less of an issue, obviously.
Yeah.
Could you adjust the time too? Maybe every other meeting you start an hour earlier? Do one at 4:30, one at
It just
5:30?
becomes more difficult for people's jobs, you know, I'm my own boss, so I can set my own schedule, provided when I do, I lose money, and, you know, but I know, Josh, you got, and I'm not trying to single you out, but can you just take off at 4 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, whenever you want?
There's days when I can, and there's days where there's, no way in hell. I mean, it's, how it is for me. Most of my work takes me outside of Hayes, so this is about as early as I can really make anything.
And Danielle's not here, because she couldn't
She couldn't get off work. So I guess, what's the time limit on the meeting? I mean, I like the 5:30 start time, there's no doubt about it, and it's not gonna push us too late into the evenings typically, but has it been a 2-hour meeting cap before, right?
We've usually done a 2-hour meeting, but if we're not going to start till 5:30, that takes us till 7:30, and that's getting kind of late for people and goes right through the dinner hour. So, we've tried to make them so that we can meet and still get home at a reasonable time, but, it's got to be something we can all work with. You're trying to get the entire board here for every meeting?
As much as we can,
It means we can, because there's 3 of us going off here in a couple of months, and we're trying to bring everybody else up to speed, so we'd like, if any of them could make it, I know Paul couldn't make it this early either. He's working out at college and stuff. You know, just the new board members want to come on, and then the new, the Lance is going to have the highest seniority, and Josh. Danielle, we've got 2-year board members, so, we just said, you guys really need to set in on negotiations so you can see how this all works. Because all our senior leadership is leaving. And so we want them all here to see how it goes one time. Me and James have been here for 4 years, but we're just trying to get them all brought up to speed.
Is it feasible we could start our meetings at 5 and then get done around 6:30?
I'm willing to work with whatever, I just think if we set them out that far, the further out you set them, it's probably going to be a lot easier for people. But if we wait until the meeting and set it for the next week, it's going to be real difficult.
We can schedule
So,
some meetings, but
I don't have a problem if we spend the end of this meeting where we're now going through and setting the next, I don't know if everybody has their calendars, I have mine. I can set them for the rest of the year if we need to. It's just a matter of where everybody else is at.
What-
Is 5 for you, even feasible?
if you're in town, is it feasible?
Yeah, if it's in town, I can do 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's no big deal.
He works in Plainville, right?
I work
But you
North Rockies.
check in Plainville.
No, our district office is here
Oh, you are?
in Hayes.
Okay.
Yeah. I want it to work. I don't want it to stretch out. I would like to stick with our June 30th if possible. And I realize it's one of those where I think this is very important. I know that there's much more that we do that tops this type of setting. So I figure it's going to be inconvenient for somebody no matter what. If 5 is the consensus, then I'll go with it. I don't think 5:30 is an unreasonable time. I don't think 6:30, 7 o'clock, even 7:30 in the evening is what I call late, because I think we're all in the same boat. It's just what's going to work best for the group. But if it's decided on that 5 is best, then I will do my absolute best, and if I can't make it, I just can't make it. No disrespect intended if I'm absent. I don't mean it that way.
Well, even if we start them at 5, you can jump in here at 5:30, or I can come in at 5:30, we can start the meetings, I think with the board, we can kind of float in and out as long as our key negotiators are here, but the rest of the board, if 5 works good for you guys, to 6:45, somewhere there just to get home before 7, I'm good with that, but just some of the board members might float in and out, just like some of the teachers.
And some of ours might as well.
Might
Like
as
we
well.
have Abby's a coach, so she may not be able to be here right away, but she may join us then. So I'm not sure of her coaching schedule. So,
What about Saturdays?
I don't know. Yeah. We've never made a practice of meeting on weekends, so I don't know, we have to discuss that and see if people are available. A lot of people leave town, some do other things or have other commitments, so, or other jobs, so I'm not sure how that would work.
Before school.
Well,
You wouldn't want me in the morning.
I don't want to do 5.
I'm not a good early morning person. 5 o'clock in the morning, no.
No.
All
Get your day started
all I
off
do
on
at that time is sleep.
that.
That's it. It's the only thing I do at that time. Well, I mean, if we can shoot for 5, I mean, I think that would be kind of ballpark, because we really would like, I mean, if I had my preference, we'd go 4 to 6, like we have done, and it's worked for us for years. And if you don't have people who are available at that time, then we can look at other times, but, we
Well, I
don't.
think the problem is, I mean, just like what we're talking about, she can't do it on Saturday, and I completely understand, she's got a job, and they're not gonna just say, well, oh, you got the school stuff to do. But, I mean, we're in that same boat. I'd be like I said, well, let's meet at noon. And, and you guys can't because you have school. I mean, it's just not, that would be unreasonable. And, we've always done it, we've always left work early, worked later, shifted things around, and now we have people that just can't be here, and we're trying to make sure that, if it's Marty or James, that no offense, I'm just calling those guys, they're not going to be here in 3 months, and they're not part of the lead part of the team, and so, if they can float in and out, that's fine, but these guys need to make sure, they're trying to learn for next year, and that's kind of one of the things we're looking at too, is making sure they're part of this, so they understand where we're at, and, if we're setting it up in a fashion that they just can't be here, or we know that there's a good chance they can't. For me personally, 5 o'clock generally probably works, but 5:30 is better because judges don't like it when I say, Judge, I gotta leave at court early because we gotta be over this negotiation session. They tend to think that their schedule is most important, so.
Do you know in advance when you're going to be in court?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I can schedule, but, but like I said, for me, I can look at my schedule, I can tell you what my schedule is going forward, but, for somebody that can't.
Right. Well, and part of the reason, too, that we want to avoid running really late is because when we're done, a lot of these people are going to go home and start grading papers, just start grading papers, and start taking care of things and getting ready for school the next day. So the later we go, the later that runs. So, that's...
And I agree, but I guess on the other hand, I didn't go to bed till 4 o'clock in the morning last night because our meeting ran until 11 and I worked on servers until, it's 2 months, and I realize it's, that everybody's going to have to give a little bit, but I guess that's where I'm at, is I want whatever it takes, I'd like to get it done, and if that means we have to go till 7:30 or whatever, then I'm willing to put in that time to get it done.
And we're all volunteers, I assume you guys all volunteer for your positions, and we do for ours, so, we all understand that we've gotten ourselves into these spots, but, I think we want to work with you guys, but, it's, if we meet 2 hours in a day, it's 2 hours, whether it starts at 5 or 5:30. If you got families, that part of it, when kids go to bed, they go to bed, but short of that, the rest of it's just juggling schedules. We've got to, I'll get up early and do what I need to go to work at 6, and get past after the meeting if we need to. But my schedule I'll make as available as it is, but I just don't want to, just because mine works, say, well, mine doesn't.
Well, I'm curious.
If you guys want to start, maybe it's better to start looking at calendars and see. Do you know? You probably don't know when you're going to be in town or out of town, do you?
I could be in town for 2 months straight, or I could be gone, 2 weeks at a time.
And Lance, what time do you get, or what time are you free? Can you leave when you need to, or?
I don't usually leave until 7 o'clock at night, so anytime before that, usually, like I said, I'm pulling on. I'm the same way. Obviously, the later in the day, the better for me, but, try to work to try to get something.
Day of the week that works better for anybody?
Not Mondays, except for when we don't have meetings. I prefer not Fridays, but if that's the day that works, I'll do it.
I don't know, do Fridays, because there's...
Wednesday work.
Or Thursday.
On Wednesdays, people have...
I like
Or Tuesdays.
Thursdays.
Tuesday,
Trish
Wednesday.
has done it on Tuesdays, haven't you?
The Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Thursdays were.
Ready for Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are usually okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday for me. Thursday's cutting into man's golf. We
Can't do that.
We cannot, that's what Matt's good.
I don't blame you, unless you got it. It takes all.
Gotta get serious.
So we can look at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
What about you guys, day of the week, does it matter?
I prefer not Friday.
Right now, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, are really good. Thursdays, Fridays.
I like Tuesdays, and I like if we keep it consistent, if it works, you know, and we just know that, I'd like it to be consistent if we pick Tuesdays and say Tuesdays are the day.
Josh, how far out do you know your schedule?
Like right now, I'm scheduled out for 2 weeks, which is pretty good, but it's the oil field. I mean, there's always something that you just don't know. So we could have, you know, a bad oil situation in Vernal, Utah, and I got to go out there. You don't know. But I'm in control of my own schedule, as long as it's not an emergency situation. So I'm good right now, about 2 weeks at a time.
We could say the next 2 Tuesdays and do 5 o'clock? Or do you know if you're in town or not?
Let's go for it.
I mean, if you're here, I'm okay doing it at 5, but if you're not, then I think we have to shoot for 5:30.
But you guys are willing if we went through and did a couple of them at 5 o'clock, and if we had a couple of them that we needed to move, maybe compromise and do a couple of them at 5:30 if we had to.
Would you do it if you were 4:30?
I'm looking at, if we go for an far enough, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. I'll do it whenever. I mean, if I've got an afternoon open within reason, I mean, I can do it. I can't do every afternoon.
We are going to set for the 21st. Is that right? At 5. And do you want to set the 28th at 5?
So 7, is that what we're doing? No, everybody do 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours.
28th is wide at 5.
It is, yeah, at 5. And then the following Tuesday is our banquet, so we can't do it that night.
Do you want to move it to a Thursday on that week?
Good, Wednesday or Thursday?
No,
that's,
Wednesday.
well, and that was another reason we went on, when we did the earlier times from 4 to 6, we could hit Wednesdays and not interfere most of the people's church, because they could still get out and get to their church on time. So if we could do Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday we could do a 4 to 6 or 4:30, 6:30, or if we could do Thursday 7, those would work. According to my calendar, I don't know about other videos. And I don't know the sports calendar.
I don't have anything on the
6th or 7th, how does that work for you?
6th.
6 would be better.
6
We
on
got
Thursday?
a walk on spring concert, so.
It's a Wednesday.
Check concert.
6 is fine.
May
5:30,
6th.
6, I'm okay.
You said, Josh said 5:30?
5:30 usually, yeah, 6.
On what, on the 6th? On the 7th, are you more available
I'm on
on the
6th.
7th?
More available on Wednesday.
More available on
The
the
6th,
6th.
yeah.
So that's on May 6th.
What time on that day?
5:30.
Well, can we,
Oh.
Probably said 5:30.
Yeah.
or you don't want to start till 5:30, or you're
5:30.
Okay, good.
at 5:30? That's the 6th. And then maybe we can go ahead and set the 12th.
Well, that's the last week with seniors, yeah, that's fine with me.
Is that you guys have stuff?
And that's the last week of school pretty much, except they come back on the 18th.
I don't know.
You want to do something?
Do you want to
Well,
not
let's-
meet that week?
I would
prefer not to.
I mean, I assume that's really busy for everybody.
Then back on the 19th.
Well, that is,
The last day of school.
that's the last day of school.
Be getting out early.
Joanne?
Do we have a work session on the 20th?
I mean, we can,
I would do it the 19th.
the 19th is fine
Huh?
with me.
Not in May?
We have a work session on,
So
I'd rather do the 20th.
19th at 5?
The 19th, I'm scheduled to be in a hearing all day in Brooks County.
You want to go to the 20th?
Well, I can do it, but it's going to have to be 5:30. I should spend my
I can do the 20.
I prefer.
I'd prefer the 20th, just because I have so much to scan in my room, it takes me all day.
What time? 5?
I think if we're setting them out that far, we need to do 5:30, with the understanding we move them up if your schedule allows.
I thought, if we were setting them out that far, you'd have an easier time getting here sooner.
This is 2 weeks out. He only knows the schedule 2 weeks
Oh.
out. So for me, I can, like
But-
that day, I could start at 3 o'clock or
If you were
3:30.
out of town,
I would let everybody know.
if you are out of town, would you even be able to be here at 5:30? Or would you be out of town till late?
Out of town versus out of state. So out of
You
town,
don't know yet.
I can typically get back whenever I can, as long as it's within driving distance. But I would, if I was out of town, I wasn't going to be able to make it back, or I was gone a distance that wasn't going to be feasible, I would let everybody know.
Because I'd like to set it for 5, and then we can be flexible for you to join us, or you can let us know as it gets closer. You can do that.
On the 20th?
Yeah,
You know, so for when?
for 5, and then and then as it gets closer, Josh will know better when he can be here.
We're agreeing that we'll set it at 5, but you can't hold it at 5:30. Right?
That's going to be kind of a tough little game.
But
Just-
hopefully we'll just set them out a couple of weeks.
All right, well, that's a few sets. Okay.
You know, just
all right,
set it through the end of the year, or through the end of June.
I don't know what my June looks like completely yet. I mean,
And, yeah, I don't.
There might be things
My,
that-
my father's got an appointment with cardiologist in May, so I don't know what that'll bring in June.
Can we say we'll tentatively set them for every Tuesday in June?
Tuesdays.
5 to 7. And then you guys can let us know by the next one, what it's at, adjusting the game.
there's, what is the time?
Yeah, they're about, we'll just do every
What's the
Tuesday.
time on that?
5 to 7,
No.
so.
What's the time on that? I have no idea. That Tuesday, Oh, we're done by what time? 4. That's on Tuesday, so we'll be back.
May 6th is on 5:30. That's the only 5:30.
Right.
So April 21st is at 5, the 22nd, or 28th is at 5, May 6th, 5:30?
Right.
Yes.
Is that right?
And
then the
everything's
20th at
5 after
5?
that.
20
And
to
then
5, and then,
Look at June, Tuesdays in June.
We're off the week of the 12th, the 19th through the wait, you know, the 20th, but then the 26th through the 30th of June are 5 o'clock.
okay. We have, well, okay, I don't know how much of you, I'm just going off the negotiations policy that you have posted online. We have about taking notes.
Sarah's doing the-
Sarah's taking notes? Okay.
Keep sending
And,
invites to the meetings.
and will Sarah, where's Sarah? Sarah, will you send us a copy and then we approve them? Okay, all right, so she'll send us a copy and then we approve them, or if we have any discrepancies with her, then let her know.
Sarah, if you want to sit up here, you can.
Stay by the lawyer.
I didn't say about any.
Well, here, well, both of you, that's the corner
I'm not
spot.
supposed to sit by you either.
I can tell you, you're gonna sit right with the lawyer. Well, I'm assuming.
Just sit there. Close. And then we'll just we'll just approve the minutes then at each meeting, at the beginning of each meeting, or what you're thinking.
Or we can look at them and approve them. If we look at them, if Sarah sends them to me, we can let you know if we approve, because they're not. Any other ground rules or anything that we want to talk about before we go on? I guess next we want to talk about our notice letters. We each exchanged notice letters earlier in the year. And I've got a copy of both yours. I'll give everyone a copy. So we want to go over and clarify on our notice letters.
I mean, it's always a little bit vague,
We should be.
and I'm sure we'll get into more specifics as we go along.
What you guys, do you have
We have, on some of our items, we have committees at work. For instance, the insurance committee, I know we've been meeting. The lead committee, Zach is on that committee, they've been meeting. So are those things that we're going to wait for that committee to come back with a recommendation? Do you have a time frame for them, or do we have, how do we want to approach that? Because we do have some subcommittees working on some of these items.
Well, I think, we've kind of talked about that. I mean, that, in the past, it's kind of been a mixed bag. I think how we've done it, some of it, as we started negotiations, we kind of finished the discussions here and finalized that. It just seems that might be a better way to handle it versus having things languish in committee that, and ultimately, whatever the committee comes up with ends up coming back to this table anyway, so.
Right. Well, they've done some background work. And
Right, if they have reports or information, but they would definitely like to hear that.
I mean, at this point, I'm helping with the insurance committee, Zach's working on the lead committee. Do we have any other committees working right now, any subcommittees that you're aware of?
Is our calendar committee meeting anytime soon?
No, we did.
That's done.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at this point, I think those committees assume they're supposed to keep working. Is that what this group wants? I mean, is that they want those committees to keep working on those things?
I don't think there's any reason to stop, but, I don't think we want to stop either, I don't know if that makes sense, but keep doing what they're doing, but, we need to get this process done as well.
Well, as it pertains, can they come and share what their status is? The most recent?
Well, I know, like, with the, I haven't talked to Zach about the lead committee. Have you talked to them? Is Tracy here? Tracy? You're on that committee. Have you met, or do you have any plans to get a meeting, or what's the status of that committee?
We've met several times. We kind of left it with, kind of a recommendation we came up with, but we did not schedule a future meeting to see, what the ideas would be of us.
So you're not actively this time?
No.
Okay. All right. Insurance committee, where's Mark today? Mark is not going to come. He's on that committee, and we met with the Blue Cross representative, and we have plans to meet with her again. So we're working on that. she's going to get together some information and present to the insurance committee, but I don't know when. I don't think she's in contact with Mr. Hoffman about that.
Could we take the action item to step that up so that it fits in the next month of meetings or not?
I don't know what the schedule, but I can talk to Mark about.
And I know she came and talked to our small group, and the problem we ran into before, we had an insurance committee a couple years ago, and we had someone come in and talk to us, and it was hard for the insurance companies to give us numbers too far in advance. And we were kind of in a catch-22. We were asking for numbers way out in advance, and they were saying, well, we can't predict that far in advance, but then we had to make a decision. And so,
That's because we're in the state plan, partial.
right.
And the other part of that is they won't give us our loss ratio numbers until after the renewal period. And so to ever get out of that plan or to make that change, you're going to have to take that 1 year where you can get out. And once you get into a non-state plan, you can get those whenever you want them. And then you can actually have competitive bids. And what we ran into last time is there was only 2 companies, the state and Coventry, that wanted to bid on it because they didn't have that information. So that's the catch on that.
All right, well, how do you want to proceed today? And we did our introductions, we've done our ground rules, and we've got our notice letters, so however we want to proceed. I don't know that, I guess we could have, do you know how the block grant, on the financial pieces, we don't really know how much we'll have yet, do we?
Well,
if
they do what they say they're going to do, still have my doubts.
They haven't funded it yet, though.
No.
Okay.
That's the big issue, that they passed the block grant, they did all of those things, but then they're still $600 million in the hole because they haven't adjusted the revenue side. And that's the fear. I'm going to be in Topeka tomorrow and hopefully get a little bit more information on that. We're going to proceed as if the block grant is going to go through, and off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what that dollar amount is. What we end up losing is state aid in the local option budget, which we can still collect. The mill levy would go up and those things. So out of all of the different scenarios, that's probably one of the better ones for us personally. Not that any of us agree with the whole process, but financially it probably was the best scenario. So yeah, I think, Tracy could probably pull up what it is now. There's still virtual school. There's still some things that we don't know for sure. And really the state hasn't ran their estimates with like our audited numbers and those things. So we'll know before long. I just hope it stays. I mean, it's a little happen when they come back. It could be like last year and everything's done at the last minute. So, and Greg had alluded to where we are last night at the board meeting. I had talked about, I think we have 13, if I'm not mistaken, 13 teachers that have indicated they're going to retire, and I think there's still a few more visiting and contemplating that. And when you look at replacement salaries and all of that, and Tracy's working on the number that would go on retiree health insurance and those that would come off, and that number's going to increase, and buying back sick days, all of those things combined, it looks like we would have a surplus. I don't, the numbers vary, and we're just estimating salaries since we haven't hired everyone back. So we should have a surplus there. I feel pretty good about the budget. We don't have to pay the co-op. We started this year by paying last year's assessment to the special ed co-op. We won't have to do that again, so there's money that helps, obviously. So we really, the changes we made, transportation's been one that's we've saved a lot and continuing to save, so all those numbers are coming together.
With people leaving, are you reducing teaching staff much?
We
or
will
do you have
reduce
plans
some
about
if,
reduction?
depending on numbers, that are in classes, we'll be adding some and won't replace some.
Total numbers, are you looking at a reduction in
Total number will
staff?
probably be a little bit lower. I couldn't tell you off the top of I didn't bring any of it, or I could give it a little bit closer. Like library, half-time position, that'll be approved, that we won't rehire that position.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan. I mean, all this has to play out. One of the home ec positions at the high school, I think right now, looking at numbers, one elementary position with with Washington, repurposing and those things. Tana, help me, what am I forgetting? But there's several like that, but we're looking at adding some other places that have high numbers and things. But overall, we should see a positive dollar amount. I guess if I can here on some of the editorial type changes, I think, did we talk about that on labor management where it has assistant superintendent of instruction? Did we already talk about that, changing those
Talked about
things?
it, I'm not sure we got that.
That we
changed
ever
on
did
the
it?
contract.
Okay.
So we need to change which title to which title.
Well, we don't have an assistant superintendent of instruction.
We need to change that to what title is needed now?
Do we put assistant superintendent in that? Is that, I mean, I'm trying to think what.
So
Probably
anywhere it says assistant superintendent
of
of
instruction.
instruction should now be,
Either director, I don't know what the meaning of all of it is. Let me see the first one here.
or do we need to go through it?
Oh,
and
that's,
find them and
okay.
see who's doing that job now?
On those, it looks like it should be director of instruction.
Director of instruction?
Yes. Shannon was over there thinking, oh, right, I'm making, yeah, because that has to do with
And then I think the
teaching.
one, we had the one date that we were supposed to change and we didn't get changed. Did you get that taken care of or addressed?
I
About
know
the-
we, where's Sarah? Did
It
we-
was the board, when the board will address non-renewals. And it
Yeah.
was like, it was kind of a leftover from the May 1st notification date.
Mhm.
Because we were saying the first meeting in April, which was really very early.
Yeah.
And since the
I
notification
think we
date has
said the
been
first
moved back,
meeting in May, right?
I think that's what we meant to change it to, was the first meeting in May. Because the notification date isn't until the third Friday in May. So, and I think we meant to change that, I don't think it got changed.
I know that was.
So
one
we'll
of the
make
things
sure
we
that
talked
that
about.
date gets changed.
And then, and Greg, tell me to shut up. I have a line here, but,
We're all gonna be nice and
Do-
polite,
do
nobody's
what?
gonna say, shut up.
no, there's all kinds of things in here. I'm just looking what Bill Jeter and I had talked about on some of these things. And I don't know, I know I have some things from KASB where it has probationary, non-probationary. I don't think the word tenure, non-tenured is in here, but what do we need to, when they change the law, I know on the list, I think that both of the due process type languages, is on there that we'll get to later, but what are you hearing? I asked Kathy Romey, and she really didn't have any more information than I did. Where it has all that language in here, and it's just a lot. I mean, that's several of the things that we have listed. Any input or anything that you guys are hearing?
Which page are you looking on right now?
I'll just look at 41. I just opened it up. I have them all highlighted. 41, 40, you know, it talks about due process and then non-probationary and those types of things. Through that section, there's a lot of probationary and non-probationary language.
Well, I mean, we put due process on our fair dismissal in our notice letter, so those things would really hinge on where we go with that. I would think.
But I guess, just from a process standpoint, if we don't resolve it, it needs to be changed to be consistent with what the current law is. Is that correct?
That's what I'm asking.
I mean, and maybe that decision doesn't get done now, but currently we have a contract that.
But don't we also have,
I think it's on our list too. So
It is. I mean, I know it'll be discussed, but that's just one that you go through, and all of my yellow are usually those words from.
Couldn't you use the language off of our evaluation tool where you fall based on your evaluation, whether it's professional or?
But I just have a suggestion on this, and I think this is one of those big issues that generally when you do negotiations, you start on the low liquidity issues so you can build momentum and get through those. Sorry, Dean.
No, I would just, no, I'm trying to figure out.
I think it's definitely something we need to talk about. I just have a concern that, if you guys want to talk about it, I don't want to shut it off, but I think it's a very big issue.
well, I think that those terms have meaning, and I think that it's all going to be tied into our conversation about fair dismissal.
Right, and I agree, and I think what Dean's saying is just what you said. I mean, we need to clean those up as part of whatever we do with the fair dismissal language, or whatever due process, whatever.
So then we
I'm just, if there was things that we could clean up, I mean, that we talked about through labor management, I think the assistant superintendent of curriculum, we can change that, highlight it or whatever without spending a lot of time with this group. But I mean, if you guys, now I know the other's a lot bigger issue, but.
I presume you guys would be all right with us giving you a red line copy of it that has all the grammatical or title changes in it. And I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time on it initially, maybe just get you guys a copy and then you look at it and say, well, we've got problems with whatever, and we can talk about those ones if there's concerns about it.
Okay. Do you have a particular area you want to begin with? I know I have an easy one. I could start with an easy one.
I think we've usually started with your guys' easy ones, and that's kind of, I think, what we were, is if you guys have some, then let's do what they are.
I could say, I mean, one thing that I think you've already made the decision on, this is just something we need to add in. We did notice the supplemental salaries, and the one that we will need to add specifically is the middle school soccer, because it needs to be specified how many. I mean, there's already it tells where they fall, which category they would fall, based on the salary schedule for coaches. But I think we do define how many coaches there are. And has that been determined yet?
you have to.
So that's something maybe we need to get that from the athletic directors. But we do have a list that tells which coaches we have, and then there's, in the parentheses, it tells how many.
Yeah, we have to
We need to put that back in.
those track coaches, assistant track, I think.
Because behind each one, there is a parentheses of a number, and that is the maximum that can be hired. They don't have to fill them, and some of those things don't get filled because there's no demand for it. But if there's, that was in the high school track, right?
You're saying that?
Yeah, high school track, for some reason, somewhere along the line, the number got deleted and not replaced on the assistant coaches, so.
And I found in 2005 was the last year it had it, and there were 8 coaches maximum.
That doesn't mean they hire 8, but that means they
For
can't
boys
hire.
and girls, I mean,
That'd be boys and
Assistant
girls.
coaches, yeah, boys and girls, a total of 8.
So probably go through all of them just to make sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so on the middle school soccer, we just need to make sure that's in the list too, so that we have that number defined, which, the maximum number. Here's soccer. No, it's not there yet. So I guess we check with the athletic directors, or do you have a number?
I don't
I'm on
have a
page
number.
8. What's that?
I don't have a number, but Bruce can give us that
Okay,
information. Yeah.
so we can add that, and then the range, the salary range will be the same as the other comparable coaches. So that's an easy one. We do have, we did put on our notice the maintenance of standards, and we do have some suggested language for that. That would just maintain a continuing contract, that we wouldn't have to start from scratch every year. That if, that it would maintain the policies and practices of the contract unless we change them. So that's something that we did notice, and it gives some consistency for teachers and for the board, that they know what to expect. And it preserves the current terms and conditions of the employment. It's advantageous to both parties to preserve sound past practices. Do you want copies of this?
Is that something different than what we had, or that was,
We don't have this in our contract now.
yeah, we probably won't see that, or whatever the proposal is.
Do we have any copies?
No, but I mean, we can, if you want to talk about it now, we
Can you-
get copies, or you saying,
Do you need paper copies?
or electronic, something that we can.
So I don't know, do you want me to, like, do you want me to give you a copy? Do you want me to read it? How do you want to handle this?
I have.
Do you want to shoot it?
This is what you've got.
It says,
The notice, language of maintenance, rationale,
Mhm.
suggested language.
yeah,
You want me to email it to?
yeah, we email it to Dean.
Somebody that has a computer, who can work with the rest of us. You can send it to Sarah.
If you'd like to want
Or
to.
Sarah.
Okay.
Okay. Sarah
So
will
the
send her
the intent of that would be that we would seek language, and this is the suggested language here, that would maintain the current policies, practices, and terms of the agreement unless otherwise negotiated by the board and the association. So that, and that's something we would like to see, that's what we put on our notice. Were there any other editorial changes?
He said he'll just give us a red copy.
You're going to
You know, that's what I was looking at.
anything else that you?
They're just going to give us a red copy so we
Okay.
can.
So we've given you the maintenance of standards. You know, we have the language for fair dismissal, and you know, we can share that again if you want, or we can, if we need to, you know, look at something else, but we do have an interest in pursuing that. I don't know, the lead committee did not, I don't know that they ever, is Tracy still here? Tracy, did you ever talk about the item that we noticed about the grandchildren? Okay. We did have an interest in, because we do have a lot of parents who are planning an integral part in raising their grandchildren. They may not be the custodial person, but they are helping raise their grandchildren. So there are times when they would like to use their leave for the minor grandchildren. So that was something that was brought up. And probably decided if that's something you guys want to talk about at this time. We have salaries on our notice, but I feel like now we don't even know. I mean, I don't think that we're not prepared to talk about that. We haven't worked on our spreadsheet. We don't know what money we'll have. So.
So you said you like to keep your grandchildren?
Yes, for
Minor grandchildren.
For minor grandchildren, no, for.
And
So-
how does it read now? I mean, does it,
It reads that your sick leave days, you know, you have your certain number of sick leave days,
Right.
and you can use them.
24, that's what 16 is.
It is leave for illness or injury of a disabling nature to an employee or the spouse or children or parents of the employee. So you can use your leave now to help if you're ill, your spouse is ill, your children, or your parents. And we do have people with aging parents that they do
I
help
don't know
with.
if we have a position on this yet, but I mean, one of the things we talked about prior negotiations is PTO. If you have that, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a grandchild or a sixth cousin, you can, you know, because that'll be, I mean, that's, I deal with a lot of these, and, you know, sometimes it's not a grandchild, it might be the niece's daughter that they're taking care of or something like that, so that those become issues, but I don't have any authority from the board on PTO yet, but it's something that I think we'll have something eventually on.
Well, I know the leave committee had talked about that, I think, at one time, and I don't know, I mean, Zach's not here, but Tracy, would you want to speak to that?
Come up, Tracy.
I don't have my notes for that. We didn't really come to a full determination from the committee. I mean, we had talked about some pros and cons for it, but didn't come to any final agreement on it. I guess I'd like to talk to the whole committee's full report on that.
They were in favor.
There are pros and cons of both. But I didn't remember.
Do you guys know when you'd be on that discussion? Yeah, I'm not want to mention anything.
Right. Well, I think people would enjoy having flexibility on their leave. However, it was my understanding when they were talking about PTO, it was a use it or lose it type of a proposal, and I don't think that people would be enthused about that. If it was you have this many days, use them as you need them, and if you don't use them, then they go into your accumulation for illness. But, you know, we've had people who really do need their accumulation of illness. We have people who have been diagnosed with cancer and they need that time. So I don't know that if it was just, hey, we want to give you more flexibility with your leave time, and then the benefit to the district is we have less paperwork. We don't have to sort out why you're gone. We trust you to use it the way you need it. But if it's a use it or lose it type of a situation, then
You'll see more absenteeism.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think
absenteeism.
anybody's, I don't think anybody's come to the point where it's to use it or lose it only. I mean, I think there's different ways to handle it.
I mean, I think if it's just more flexibility, and you wouldn't have to have all your categories, and it wasn't a loss for the teachers, if it was just less paperwork and more flexibility, I don't think people would have a problem with it.
I guess it depends how you structure loss, though. If you start looking at, the number of potential days available for leave time, is a huge number. I mean, if somebody actually used every day they could for whatever, that's a big number. So I don't think, again, this isn't a proposal, but I think the concept is we're going to do one-for-one for that. That's a problem. Because now you've got, at least before you had to have jury duty to get off of jury duty. Now you have a personal day or a PTO day. That's just financial.
Right.
I think we need to get, it's something that you guys are receptive to listening to.
Yeah, well, and I think that's something that the leave committee talked about, but, I think some of the unintended consequences were, because we had the impression that it was at the one meeting I went to, I thought they had talked about it was a use it or lose it, and we said, well, then you're going to see absenteeism jump.
Well, that's one concept you can have, is either use it or you lose it. There's another that you buy back, there's another that you store it up for a period of time, you can sell it back at the end. Or, maybe it decays over a certain number. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it, and I think that, I guess the question is, the first time it was brought up, I don't think you guys had any interest at all in it, because I think maybe, it sounds like you maybe have a little bit different view on it, if you feel it's right for you guys. Is that fair? And you want to see all the terms and details?
I think people would need to see the details and see if it's more flexible, there'd be people that would certainly enjoy that. If it is something where they lose the ability to have that accumulation, then that would be a tough sell, because we do have people who have really needed that. They've needed it for illnesses, they've needed it for illnesses of their children. So to say you can't accumulate anymore, use it or lose it, that would be a real tough sell.
What about unlimited accumulation? And that's an issue for us. We've got $1.5 million in unfunded liabilities out there that, it's just more debt that we've got. And, that's something on our list that we're, as we go through this, that we're going to look at doing something to that. And it's just like kind of going to be in the hand with one
We're seeing an awful big number this year, with the retirees that we have. We have a large number of retirees that have a lot of time in the district. So that sick leave is a huge number.
And it's huge for them, because right now they can count it towards their retirement pay.
That affects their income for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
So in reality, if they did have that sick leave, they would have worked another year to
Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know, that number.
And sometimes we hear from teachers that, are we going to lose our sick leave? Because if we're going to lose it for next year, I'm going to retire this year. I'm leaving now.
I've had them call me and ask me that question, and I don't have an answer. I said, we can't do it.
We'd have that person take the next 128 years off and get paid.
Say that again?
Years?
Take 1.5 million divided by 65, and that tells you the days divided by 179, it's 128 years. That's time off of school years. That's.
The incentive was there, though, to not take the days off, so that you save money.
But
And it
there's
should
still,
be.
the number that are gone are still high.
If the substitute is $85 a day, and that's the going rate, correct? And you're paying out 65, I believe it's 85, Dean, isn't it 85?
85.
So every day we don't use, we save you $20.
Assuming that people would lie about being sick to just get it. I mean, that's the only way that makes sense. If people only called in sick, you know, then we wouldn't say at all.
Well, it's probably the other way. People probably drag themselves to school when they should stay home, I would say.
Right.
You know, they probably do go because it's so much easier to go than not go. But, yeah, I will say this, like, the state employees, they have a cap, but they get paid their salary. So they are looking at the same amounts of money that you're looking at paying people. They have a cap, but they're not paying $65 a day. They're paying the $20 or $25 an hour that they make.
Was it based on the year they earn it, or based on their penny?
They're in salary.
It's their last year, but you have to accumulate at least 800 hours to get paid for 250.
You have to have more, but my husband just went through this, so I've had firsthand experience. So if you accumulate enough, I think their cap is like 90 days.
And I think where we're at is that we need to change it from what it's at now. I don't think we have a set, here's what it's going to be, but we've got to get something that just doesn't have an unlimited, you know, whether it's the state plan, taking a look at, you know, other districts that we think are model districts and saying, you know, how are they doing it? I think that's where we're at, and not just on this issue, but nearly all the issues in our places. You know, how can we be to a point that we can take that money and, you know, not be, you know, we can reallocate it in more effective ways. It's probably the best way to say it, you know.
Well, the danger in doing some of that, though, is that you're ignoring the unintended consequence. Because if you do that, and like we said, you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to say that I'm getting out right now, so you're going to have a huge expense right off the bat. And then you're going to have those substitute expenses. Because then you're going to have people saying, well, you know what, I'm going to take all my personal days. I know we looked at it a few years ago, the teachers do not use their personal days at 100%. They used them at about, Dean, I don't know if you've looked at it lately.
Yeah, we just.
Have you looked at it?
We just.
You looked at personal days?
Mhm.
And what is the percentage of the teachers, not everybody?
We had, where is that piece of paper we had last time?
It says,
Because the last time we looked at it, it was only about
This says,
55%.
last year approximately 60 teachers used all 4 personal days, which is about 25%. There was 540 personal days used, 1,514 sick days, 133 funeral/serious illness, and 7 business.
How many personal days were used?
540.
540 from the teachers or everyone?
I think that's just teachers. Yeah. And that was an average of 8.25 days used per teachers for all of those categories.
So for personal days, didn't you say we have about 250 teachers?
We have 256.
So that's just half, just over half of the potential personal days were used. So I guess what I'm saying is if you start making changes too dramatically, then you're going to see that.
Well, that's what I think, if you start looking at, you know, what's the other, you know, we talk about Blue Valleys and Shawnee Missions, and, you know, and you don't just look at them, but you look at, you know, the other 4A schools and 5A schools that, you know, either the ones that we're competing against or with, and, you know, look at what the surrounding schools, Austin, Victoria do. And then, you know, I mean, if they've done it, we've got at least a basis to say, okay, they've done it, how long have they had this in place? It's been there for 5 or 10 years. They should be able to tell us, yeah.
Well, is the incentive, I mean, we implemented that as an incentive not to use those days. So is that, you don't want, is that something you want to move away from?
On that specific issue, I don't think we want a $1.5 million unfunded liability.
One thing that I do recall when we met with the leave committee is the question was asked, is it a predictable number? First of all, you're not going to pay out, the yearly amount that you have to pay, is it reasonably predictable? And the answer was yes, that they looked over a 10-year period and they could see a pattern that it was in a ballpark. And Zach's not here, so I don't know what that ballpark was. But I don't know if Tracy remembers, but it seemed to me Does that sound right, Tracy, that you saw a reasonable predictability?
There was variance between each year, but I don't know that I saw a certain pattern.
I thought that that's what they said, that there was that they said that they could predict it within reason, that it wasn't like all of a sudden you were going to have to pay out $1 million, because everyone's not going to settle $1 million. But
I think just something, as we were looking through a lot of that, and as Greg brought up, we were looking at other districts and things like that, that was one thing we saw, most of them don't have it, and there's a cap on almost everyone we looked at. So I think that was part of the thing we were looking at, is trying to, and again, it may also compromise one way or the other, and obviously we have to look at, what it's going to affect, whether it's the substitute salary or whatever. At the end of the day, trying to get rid of the unlimited fees there, just so you don't have that huge number hanging on there, I think was the end result.
So are you thinking of grandfathering into, where,
Those are options.
Yeah, I don't think.
because I can
You have
hear,
to if you want us to support it.
Well, I think we're going to try and come up with a plan that we agree on. That's the goal. We may have a plan that we like a lot better than you do, but the goal is can we come up with a plan we all like and can agree on. Obviously, whatever we like is probably more one-sided than us, and what you like is probably more one-sided to you. And so it's, can we, with the understanding that we're trying to save money in areas where we can, so we can put it to more effective ways to educate students, class sizes, supplies, professional development, those things, areas that we've talked about for years that we're short on. And right now, with 86.5% of the budget in salaries and benefits, not just yours, but everybody's, but you guys, it's kind of like the state budget, education makes up the big part, you guys make up the big part of the labor force for the district.
well, if we are that percent, because we looked at, what's our salaries, was like 11 million for the teachers. But now that we're going towards the block grants, can you make that statement anymore? Because if we were 87% of the general fund, we are not 87% of the total budget.
But
Correct?
No, if you put everything in there, but
Yeah.
what are you talking special ed money, all of those dollars?
But you keep saying we're 87% of the
I'm
whole
talking
budget, and
general
we're
fund
not.
and the local option.
But hasn't that all changed now?
Well, halfway, yes. When it gets funded, yes, and it'll do that way for 2 years, but it's not.
It really, those dollar amounts, general fund and LOB, are still going to come from those funds.
Are you going to be locked into your capital outlay in the same way you were locked in before?
As far as what we can expend it on,
Right.
or how much we receive?
What you can spend it on.
That,
Because what I kept hearing was this is going to give you more flexibility to spend money in
Supposedly,
different
yeah.
categories. So is the 80s, right?
But the goal of it is a game or a gimmick by the legislature to make districts, not like us, spend down reserves they have. And so the goal is we're going to strip everybody of all their reserves, and then magically that's going to fix all their financial troubles. But if we do that, and we sit here and talk about, well, we're going to take all of this money that we have for capital outlay that was earmarked for it, and the block grants aren't going to stay, or at least probably not in their existing form. They could. But if we go back to the old funding, and now we've tied in salaries and benefits and whatever else to that number that's out of capital outlay money, and then take it back, and we're back in another hole that we dug ourselves out of several years ago when we tried to pull all or at least as many of the salaries and benefits out of the capital outlay we could. And then, how do we then keep the buildings upgraded and take care of those issues, especially if we don't get a bond payment. But again, I think those are the concerns we have, right?
Just for clarification, when you were talking about the extended leave situation,
What?
the extended leave, like the unfortunate of somebody having cancer or that
Right.
situation, does FMLA or short-term disability, does that not apply here?
I mean, if people had disability insurance,
No, anytime, just Family Medical Leave Act.
I don't know.
Here's our benefits.
Tracy,
All of our employees are covered under FMLA.
All of them are?
12 weeks, but but that's unpaid leave, though, they don't have.
Right.
Social Security.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it still applied. I didn't know if there was something different with the way our policies were written that eliminated that.
I don't know, I mean, what examples you guys would know, but I mean, what I can think of are people who have been diagnosed with cancer and have had to be gone for months, and they use their leave. They need that leave. And so if we would have bought it down or limited it or anything like that, then not only would they be fighting cancer, but they would be in some very hard times financially.
And I think we're appreciative of that. I mean, I think you have a pool for those types of situations as
Yeah.
well.
It's got limits on it now. We have,
But
it helps for a bit, but those are more for short-term
it
things.
can be whatever we agree, right? I mean, so, I mean, you can, we could change that as well. And so, I mean, I think those were all the things, but I guess, I mean, right now, and I don't want to stifle discussion on this, but I think what our plan is, we'll have a proposal or a plan to present to you guys, we don't have to tonight, that lays out, here's what we think the plan is, and has specifics and details. So instead of, you know, we'll take into consideration those things. Now, maybe it doesn't address all of those, but to me, it seems like that might be a better first step to get this started than to talk about, well, if it does this, it doesn't do that. And we can, you know, if you guys were proposing something, I mean, I just think it's more productive for all of us if you have a proposal that's, here's what, like what you sent us, here's the language we propose, so that we can, you know, instead of just talking about a vague, you know,
Well,
we can actually then nitpick the language and words. if
That's a
we
starting
want.
point.
Well, our starting point, we did have the committee meet, and they made a proposal to leave it as it is for now, because they said the board didn't have the money to do anything else. And that some of the changes wouldn't save any money, because some of the changes they were looking at, after examining them, they didn't come to a savings. So, and then they also talked about the unintended costs, that if you reduce this, then you may save money in this line item, but then all of a sudden, your substitute teaching line item is high. So those are real costs. So it doesn't save money, maybe it makes you, makes you feel better because you don't have this number to worry about, but in reality, you don't save the money, you don't save the money. So if you've got something else going up, as this goes down, did you really did you meet your goal to save money? Or is it just a lose-lose? That was part of our benefit when we did interest-based bargaining. We'd go through it and figure out what would meet the interests of both parties. But we can end up with some losing ideas for both of us. But that was the recommendation that was very recently. That was within the last few months from the lead committee. I believe we talked to them at labor management earlier this year that they didn't have a recommendation to make changes because the money to buy anyone out wasn't there, and then the money to, and then the proposals would have ended up costing money.
So again, I would like to ask, is it possible to have those representatives from those committees come and share with us their results, so we're not starting or speculating or hearsay or whatever it is, but we can actually hear that work that had been done?
Tracy and Zach, Lois Smith was on that committee, and I believe Mary Casey served on the committee, but she has stepped out away from it now. She decided not to serve on it anymore.
Mary Straub, I think.
Yes, Mary said she was going to serve on that committee.
And they could just hand it off, at this point for discussion in here.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we can ask the leave committee to bring. You guys have to go.
I'm sorry, I do.
Okay.
Kids.
I got kids. Everybody does. I know, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Okay. Well, we can ask the leave committee to bring us their findings again and review those, because I feel like we need to respect the work they did. They spent quite a bit of time on it, and we asked them to do it. I feel like that's...
We've listened to our side, our representatives, and they've spoken to us.
Who is that?
Reports, Tracy.
Well, we can have them all here together.
I don't have a problem, I'm not opposed to that, but I'm just saying, we have heard them before, so.
Well, So we're going to have,
I'm not
do we want the
opposed.
committee to work some more, or we're just going to take over the work of that committee, or we're going to disregard what the committee did, or?
Well, from my understanding, that committee's doing nothing. They met, and they're at a standstill waiting for us, so it's kind of, chicken and egg thing, we're chasing our tail. We're saying we're waiting for them, they're waiting for us, and we're not doing anything.
So they have no proposal, is that what you're saying?
My understanding.
And the committee has no ideas?
We had some suggestions. I mean, I think we viewed it as, we would bring those suggestions to the committee, and then you guys could kind of go through those and decide what would be a consideration or not. I mean, we were really gathering data and trying to see some different suggestions that the staff members and the team had, and how that would affect the district. And we're more than glad to bring all that information
Okay.
to you guys.
Great. Let's do that.
Because you guys have heard that, I haven't heard any.
I thought we talked about it at labor management one time.
Yeah, we haven't told anything since our last meeting. Talked to everybody about it.
Okay. Are there specific things you want to talk about tonight that you have?
I don't think we didn't have really anything, we wanted to kind of see where you guys were at.
Okay.
And see where things are going, and as we get to the future meetings, kind of get more down into the what's the goals.
That sounds fun. Okay. I don't have anything else tonight.
So next Tuesday, 5:30.
Sounds good.
It's fine.
5.
Did the invitation
No, that's
go out
right,
on
yeah.
the spot?
It's fine, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to,
5:30.
How about 6?
That works too.
Okay,
kind of,
okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
how many sick days does a teacher get?
A year?
Sick days?
Yeah.
11.
11 sick days in the year, and how many personal days for?
Well, that's part of the
That's
staff.
part of it.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's part of
additional.
the staff.
You can use one.
You can use 4 of your sick days as personal
Right.
for whatever reason.
When you say,
So just a little over 2 weeks. 10 days. I would say a 5-day work week, about 2 weeks was a sick leave, pretty good.
And when you have influenza going around the school, you need it.
It was bad.
Yeah,
It was bad this
It was
year.
bad this year.
It wasn't long.
Well, I think,
Yeah, but
I would say my experience has been that it kind of lapses in things. There are years
Yeah.
teachers meet every day they have, and there are years you don't use it at.
use any.
There's some teachers that have a better immune system than others,
Oh, yeah.
that's just the way it is, and they accumulate sick
Or
days
they
way
have
fast.
sickly family members. They may have very sickly family members. Maybe they're very healthy, but they have a sickly spouse or child, and that allows them to, yeah.
I'm the top of the one, and they might have a child,
Well,
so.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, me
I
too.
need them all.
I was told by one teacher that the whole sick leave accumulation is sexist.
Oh, I know it is.
Actually, much more favorable.
I signed those checks.
Is women because.
But I'm just saying, I just,
I get excited because.
You can do Trinity with the.
Yeah, we can play Zach, I know Zach will say,
It's
Say
not,
how many
it's
is-
his wife has used too many, she's like, it's your turn.
Yeah.
I would get
And I know that there are some teachers
And,
which,
that's to me.
when they have as many sick days as they do, that they can share it with somebody who's out.
We had a sharing
That's my number one.
vehicle, people would share.
Because I want that. The guy that showed us their name is more than the guy that takes them as many
Well, the problem with the pool is democratic. It's even, if you qualify, you can get it. Not as much as we used to. Not now that we went to a loan.
Right.
A loan has helped people don't feel bad about it now. You take it, you owe it. But
Yes. My work ethic has certainly waned in the last
straight up donations is if you become a popularity contest. If you work in a little tiny school and you're just there part-time, you're an itinerant teacher, then it can be a problem. Where if you're very well known, you know, you have a quick advantage. What we have now is failure.
And just like you got those people that use that, you know,
Or if you're mean.
11 days seems like
I just
You're exposed to so many germs.
Oh, yeah.
And until you've taught for several years, you don't have that.
And everything.
right.
Especially after the holidays, you know, when you have families.
Texas, Nebraska,
Canada.
and the whole, yeah, Canada, yeah. I don't know, the 2 weeks of sick leave, it seems like a lot to me with the other industries that I'm around. And how we
It's
can get
typical
that.
with like the jobs that every government jobs, I think, like my husband is a state employee.
Yeah.
And
But they work 12 months.
But they get so much more.
Right.
They get so.
And it usually averages out to 2 weeks, you know, for a whole year.